Hey everyone, welcome to Unleashed by Faith. In this video, we're going to discuss Proverbs 2, chapter 2, verses 2 through 5. And I just want to go over some things that I gleaned over my latest Bible study, which was on this passage in particular. As I was reading through it, I was hit with this truth that even though most men want responsibility, very few really want to do the work to prepare for that responsibility. Think about it. We want influence. We want to have leadership roles. We want to keep advancing in our roles as leaders, and we want respect. However, Scripture kind of shares something with us that really makes us feel uncomfortable if you really think about it, and that is that if a man or person in general, but if a man does not pursue wisdom, responsibility is just going to expose him. It's not going to elevate him. It's going to expose him and his flaws. So, let's just start with the actual passage, and then we'll kind of break it down line by line and go over some of the thoughts. So again, this is Proverbs chapter 2, verses 2 through 5. This is Solomon writing to his son, and he says, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding. Indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. So what this is really describing is formation as a leader, specifically formation through looking for wisdom and understanding. And I truly believe that if you take the time to form in this way, you'll really be prepared for increased responsibility and increased leadership roles, and to harness potential influence that you might receive. And the order that we do this, I think, really matters. And this is, how Solomon teaches it to us. He says, first, turn your ear to wisdom, and apply your heart to understanding. The word turn here is very important. When we turn, we're physically when we are turning our head, we're slowing down, we're redirecting our attention, and we're restraining our impulse to want to chime in, as a lot of people do during conversations. We're actually turning our ear. When we physically turn our ears to listen, it sends. You don't have to turn your head all the way because that's just awkward. But you're actually focused in. It's showing the other person that you're really listening, and it sends a signal to your own brain, your own body, that, hey, I'm locked in. This is something I can sympathize with because I worked on aircraft in the Air Force for 20 years. And just to be honest, being around all those loud engines and loud equipment, my hearing's not great. If I'm in a loud room and we're having a conversation, if I'm not locked on to whoever's talking to me, I'm not listening. That's just pure and simple. My family knows it. My wife knows it. Kids know it. They know that if I'm not looking them in the eyes and actually focused on what they're saying in a loud room, I'm not even there. So this really speaks to me. This is something I actually lock in when I'm having a conversation with someone in a crowded or loud room. So turn our ear to wisdom. More than that, we often, like I said before, we just kind of react to what's being said. We wait our turn for that person to stop talking just so we can say what we have to say, instead of truly engaging in what's being said. So we need to fight that urge to react and engage so we can fully listen. The next part of this says to apply our heart to understanding. Applying your heart to understanding really means that we're letting truth shape the decisions, not just confirming our instincts or our bias. When we are applying our heart, We are taking our predetermined thoughts and opinions about something, and we're stepping back and we're actually listening. Have you ever done this where you listen to a conversation or something that somebody was telling you that you really didn't know anything about? My kids do it all the time. They're constant. They're both teenagers. They're constantly into whatever these new things are. These YouTubers and all that stuff. They're constantly into something, and I actually have to apply my heart to understand what the heck they're talking about. What does this mean? I'm asking questions. I'm trying to understand and learn what they're into, what they're interested in. Very, very important. So, think about that. When you don't know something already, you apply your heart to understanding. You're turning your ear to wisdom. You're trying to learn more. Now, try to do this in all things, all conversations that you're in. Don't assume you already know the answer, and let your biases or instincts shape your decisions and how you kind of approach things. Biblical manhood really does begin with restraint. We need to learn to restrain that and not be some alpha male who's forcing his ideas onto others. We really need to restrain ourselves and really listen, because if we can't listen, honestly and simply, we can't lead. We're not ready to be a leader. So the next Solomon goes on to say, call out for insight. Cry aloud for understanding. Call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding. So this isn't weakness. This is taking ownership, to be honest with you. Calling out means to refuse to pretend that we already know. A lot of times, think about driving in the car, before GPS days, where you're like, oh, I know where I'm going, And as you're driving, you know it all, and your wife, your girlfriend, or whomever is like, hey, you might want to stop and ask for directions, or we might want to, you're like, no, I know, right? So we don't want to call out for insight. We don't want to cry aloud for understanding. We just want to think we know it. And that's our pride, really. Our pride keeps us silent more often than not. And silence typically leads to poor decisions. When you're afraid to ask for help, or you think you already know something, you're just kind of being silent about what you think should be done. When you see things in the world that just aren't going the way they should, see things in your family that you don't like the direction that they're heading, just being silent about it is not good. And it honestly, it leads to poor decisions. And poor decisions ultimately cost other people. There's consequences. So we need to be responsible, seek wisdom before our choices really impact our family or our work or our community. So we need to seek that wisdom. We need to really open our heart to what's happening. So we remove those biases, cry aloud for understanding. We really need to fight to understand and admit we don't know what's going on. And how important is this? Solomon says that we need to seek it out as silver or search for it as hidden treasure. So think about, all those movies and stuff, like the Indiana Jones movies, and how hard they're willing to work and push it and risk their lives and risk everything just to get this treasure, this artifact or whatever it is. I mean, they're willing to bet their whole lives on this treasure hunt. What if we looked at understanding those around us and understanding the situations and things in our world? What if we looked at those in the same way, that truly understand it and to get wisdom from it, not to just get what people are telling us to do, not just to follow along with the media bias? What if we really sought out wisdom and search for it as we would for treasure? You don't just stumble upon treasure. And the same goes for wisdom and learning. It's earned through effort and understanding. And, honestly, you pursue what you value. So whatever you value, if you don't value wisdom, you're probably not going to pursue it. But hopefully you do. I know daily I pray that I am seeking wisdom in many areas of my life that I know I'm extremely weak in. So I'm hoping that I can do that and get past my pride. I am, I'm preaching to myself here on this video, because this is something that I will do. Is when somebody starts talking, I have to fight my urge a lot to just like, okay, shut up, shut up, shut up, so I can reply. I have something to say. So I actually have to fight that urge and really hone in on it, because when we make wisdom something that's just optional, honestly, that's when our leadership becomes dangerous. When we start to just assume things, and we make those decisions for our team or those around us, those decisions become very dangerous. Our authority ultimately can become destructive. And we really need to step back and ask ourselves an honest question. What is it that we're actually pursuing? Are we pursuing wisdom? Are we pursuing things that just feed our ego? What are we pursuing? So really kind of step back and think about it. And finally, Solomon, he gives us this promise that if we seek wisdom and we search for it as for hidden treasure, as for that silver, if we seek it, then we will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. So I just kind of back up. So the fear of the Lord thing, we often hear about, fear of the Lord, fear, God fearing, fearfully and wonderfully made. Those come up a lot. So in this context, fear is not terror. God doesn't want us to be terrified of him. I mean, think about it, how that doesn't make any sense at all. That doesn't track with any context that's in, all 1,000, 2,000 pages of my Bible, 1,500 pages, or whatever it is of my Bible. That does not a single word of that lines up. Fear in this regard is reverence. It's respect. It's the ultimate form of respect is reverence. And fear of the Lord is just that, to have the ultimate reverence, the deepest of respects for the Lord. So to truly understand and revere the Lord is something that we really, really want. We want to know what it takes to truly respect and revere God. And the way we do that is by seeking wisdom, seeking his wisdom, and turning our ear and applying our hearts to his teachings and what he has to share, so that we can truly fear and understand the Lord and understand the knowledge of God. Because honestly, it's alignment. When we do that, we're aligning ourselves with God, and we're submitting ourselves to the rightful authority of God. And a man who fears the Lord, he doesn't need constant correction. One who can govern himself, can treat each action as if it's an act of respect for God. Think about that. If everything you do is out of love and respect for God, you're probably going to be on a pretty good path. Your default is going to be something that is positive and worthy of God. Because a man who answers to God, honestly, think about a leader who answers to God, and think of how much you'd be able to trust that person with, your team, or with your respect, and you'd be willing to trust them. So honestly, here's the truth. Manhood is not proven when responsibility is given. It's proven in how seriously a man can prepare before that responsibility arrives. So if we pursue that wisdom now, when it only costs us a little bit of time, think about how well we will be prepared and how well we will be able to be prepared for that upcoming responsibility when it actually matters. So if we don't pursue wisdom now, when it only costs us a little bit of time, we're not going to carry responsibility well. Not at all. And honestly, this is all about readiness, and readiness begins with the pursuit of wisdom. So take your time today. Maybe it's turn your ear to wisdom a little bit, try to open your heart. A lot of times these things are very hard to go all in on day one, right? So if you can just take that step of just turning your ear, really focus when somebody's talking, open your heart, and not with the intent of just finishing their sentence or telling them everything they're saying wrong right now, right? So actually just listen and try to understand. Ask them questions. Even if it's something you know about, ask questions, because you might learn something different. If nothing else, you're going to open up their hearts to listening to you in the future when you have something to say. So just try just that step. And if you've already got that down, then go out there and say, search for that wisdom as if you're searching for silver. Go and look for people who you maybe haven't talked to in a while, or those who, in your, that you work with, who might do something kind of interesting. Go out and actively seek what they know, learn from them. And if you do that, I promise you, you're going to be closer to God already. You're going to feel like you can truly understand the Word of God, because you're willing to submit yourselves to learning and understanding others. So thank you for turning your ear to me into this video, and I look forward to the next one. Have a great day, and like and subscribe.